Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Nettie Owens, for What Businesses Need to Know Right Now. And today I've brought financial planner Sandra Keir to our conversation today. Sandy, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Sandy is someone you are going to want to know. She has such a wealth of knowledge and experience in financial services. And the questions that we're going to talk about today, I think, are weighing on everybody's minds, even if they're not talking about them outwardly. So, I'm excited to dig in. You've only ever done financial services. What got you excited about this field?
My dad used to talk about it at the dinner table all the time. What stock he had bought and what he had sold, and that got me reading the financial news, and that's what interested me.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
And it just feels good, to
Yeah.
imagine you sitting there like thinking about and wondering, more about that topic. And I love what you do because you bring it to women entrepreneurs. And I do think that, we may not have as much information as our male counterparts and maybe aren't as familiar with some of these terms. And a lot of the things that are written or shared aren't directed, in a way that may be of interest to us. So I'm so thankful that that's your focus, and what you're doing to help answer some big questions around when to take Social Security and when to or what accounts to set up and how to go about doing that. Is there something that just inspired you to reach out to this particular group?
No, I think it happened naturally. I guess I've worked with or been associated with women through the nonprofit organizations that I work with and colleagues in the industry. And I guess I just kind of amassed a group of women clients and realized that I really liked working with women. I think I kind of approach it as, we're in this together, we're a team,
Yeah.
and we're going to get you, a nice financially sound retirement.
Excellent. I love that. And very, very important for women business owners to be thinking about this and make sure that
Right.
they're setting themselves up for success. Our male counterparts are doing the same thing, and we want to make sure we're on top of it. So, all right. Today, though, we want to really dig into what's going on right now. And things are a little rocky, or it seems like they might be a little bit rocky. So, um, what are you seeing financially?
Mhm.
What are some of the main threads of conversation that keep coming up in your world?
Right. Well, I think the number one word that we're hearing every day, multiple times, is recession. And
Hmm.
I guess the question is, how did we get to this point? We had 11 years of a bull market and everything was going great. How did we get to this point so quickly? And
Hmm.
I think you really have to go back to when the pandemic first occurred and we literally shut down the world for several
Hmm.
months. People lost their jobs, businesses closed, and it was very frightening. Luckily, Congress realized that people needed some kind of financial resources to get them through the worst of times. So they passed a lot of legislation that put cash in your hands and mine and cash in small business owners' hands as an incentive to keep employees working, which
Hmm.
which really got us through the worst of it.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, it was almost like a boomerang effect, though. What happened was people were stranded at home, and all of a sudden they were flush with cash, and they started buying Pelotons and workout clothes and streaming services to entertain themselves 24/7, and of course, technology to turn their homes into offices,
Hmm.
which was great, but the problem was there weren't enough of those things to go around
Right.
because we had closed all the factories down and laid all the workers off. There was no way to get things made, no way to put them on ships, and no way to unload the ships when they finally got here.
Hmm.
So I think we all know what happens when you've got a vast amount of demand and not enough supply to go around.
Right.
It starts driving prices up drastically.
Hmm.
That's brought us to the point where we've got, the fastest rate of inflation now that we've had since the 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you're paying attention to the numbers because I've got to be honest, I haven't been as much as I should. So I'm thankful for you to kind of looking at what's going on. And I guess from your perspective, do you really, I mean, there's a lot of news out there that just says gloom and doom, right? We're on the brink.
Right.
Um, do you feel that's the case? And is it really as bad as those headlines say?
I don't think so. I think recession has become the sole focus. And like I said, you hear that word 200 times during
Hmm.
CNBC Squawk Box every morning. And everybody tends to think recession is bad. But, it's interesting. I just looked up some numbers the other day. The average recession lasts 17 months, and the cumulative market declines during that period of time are only 33%.
Hmm.
So if you compare that to bear markets or periods of great economic growth, they tend to last over 5 years on average and
Okay.
generate stock market returns of 275%. So I think
Hmm.
if you kind of compare the two, you can say, wow, these recessions generally don't last that long, generally aren't that severe. So
Hmm.
maybe we're all looking a little too negatively on what's going to happen and how we deal with it.
It reminds me kind of just life lessons in general, right? We have a few bad minutes in a day and we throw out the whole day saying it was a bad day,
Right,
where the
right,
reality is like percentage wise, our day was good or at least okay. And there were just a few bad moments. So taking some
right,
time to see the perspective, to know that, it's not all bad. It's very likely we're going to get back onto even keel sooner rather than later.
mhm,
Um, so, what does this mean though for a business owner sitting here going, okay, great, but right
right,
now prices are very expensive. They seem to only be going up. I can't really find great employees or
mhm,
keep my employees. And now they all want more money than they've ever wanted before because everything's more expensive. So, what do we
right.
do as business owners?
Right. Well, I think the first thing is keep in mind that recession is merely part of the business cycle. And
Hmm.
that, like I said, they aren't that long, they typically aren't that steep, and that you will come out on the other end. So, first
Okay.
of all, don't assume that everything is gloom and doom, and don't make business decisions based on that, because then when the business cycle comes around, you're going to be behind the eight ball. So, I
Hmm.
think that's the first thing to keep in mind. Secondly, keep in mind that not all recessions are going to affect your business the same way they do others. I think really important to talk to your customers about whether they plan on cutting back expenses next year. Talk to your banker about whether there's going to be a tightening of any loans they might be giving you next year or higher interest rates. And talk to your competitors. And I think that'll give you a good base of knowledge to know whether this is really going to affect my business or not.
Right. So just don't assume, right,
Right,
that
right,
it's going to have the same measure of impact for you as it might for somebody else, just because we're hearing the word recession.
right,
Um, I also feel like it's not a bad time to kind of look at, okay, things might be more expensive here. You can tighten up there and ride it through, creating a stronger business in the end. And that's what
right,
got us through the pandemic as it was, to really look at the systems and structures that we have, what's working, what's not working, keep the good stuff. All of that is good advice, especially in difficult times.
sure.
Um, is there anything that can be done to get through this inflation? I mean, I know for me, I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not an enormous impact on my business, I am seeing the inflated costs. So,
Mhm.
how do we navigate that?
Well, I think a lot of economists and a lot of experts in the industry that I follow really think that inflation is actually ebbing right now and probably will end the year somewhere in the 4 to 5% range, which would be much better than the 8 to 9% range we're in now. So I think some of these things are going to start improving gradually. And I think the most important thing I think is to, be open and honest with your team, make sure that the people who work with you and for you know what you're anticipating for your business, what your staffing plans are, and what profitability looks like. Because I think there's nothing worse right now than those employees that are so hard to find and keep. We certainly don't want them to leave for another job somewhere else because they're concerned about their job security. So I think managing your own house and your own team is really important right now, communicating effectively with them.
I think that's a really fantastic point. And again, one, that we experienced in the pandemic was just a need for communication, clear communication. And I hope it's one that lasts beyond this recession, beyond the pandemic, this idea that we could all do a better job of being more forthcoming to the people around us to help them be part of the team. And part of the solution.
Right.
This has been fantastic, Sandy. I really appreciate it. I feel better, and I'm thinking about how I can apply what you've been sharing with me in my own business. So thank you for that. If others want to reach out to you, if you're a woman-owned business and you would like some guidance that Sandy could provide, how can they reach out to you?
You can check out my website at keirplanning.com, or if you want to communicate with me, you can certainly go to LinkedIn. I'm available on LinkedIn, and please feel free to send me an email too. My email address is on LinkedIn as well. So any of those three ways will find your way to me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For our listeners out here, I would invite you to subscribe so you get notified whenever we have another live interview, as we've had today. All topics on things that you need to help you run your business successfully. And one more thing, we've enjoyed having you here as a listener. If you would like to text the word freedom, FREEDOM, to 411321, just take out your phone, put 411321 into the number to call and add the word freedom. What you'll receive is my guide, How to Succeed in Business for High Achievers. And that's my gift to you. I've enjoyed having you as a listener. I've enjoyed having you, Sandy, as a guest on our show. And we look forward to everyone coming back for the next installment of What Businesses Need to Know Right Now. Take care.
Thanks.